From 4K support to an 8-inch screen to a USB-C port on top, the Nintendo Switch 2 is promising a lot of power and a lot of new features that make gameplay experiences more immersive and more enjoyable. But you may be wondering what features are going to make the upgrade worth it. Well, today I have gathered 7 reasons why I'm excited for the Nintendo Switch 2, and the features get more exciting as the video goes along, so make sure to watch all the way through. At number 1, we have an improved tabletop experience. When the Nintendo Switch originally came out in 2017, it had a revolutionary concept that broke the gaming market. The 3 modes of play, those being handheld mode, tabletop mode, and TV mode, made it the perfect console for basically anybody in any situation. But one of those modes, that being tabletop mode, always felt like it was an afterthought when the Nintendo devs came up with it. The standard Nintendo Switch had tabletop support, but the stand on the back was very small and flimsy, and it broke off very easily and only had one angle. It also wasn't centered on the console, making those issues even more annoying, since the stand was off to the side, and the system could tip over easily. In 2021, when the Nintendo Switch OLED came out, it aided this issue by adding a stand that stretched across the entire back of the tablet, and it had adjustable viewing angles, making tabletop mode a more feasible way to play Switch. But with the Nintendo Switch 2, not only is there a large stand that is actually sturdy similar to the Switch OLED, but Nintendo has also added a top USB-C port, solving another issue of tabletop mode that neither the standard Switch or Switch OLED addressed, being that charging your Switch in tabletop mode was impossible unless you had either a raised stand allowing for charging cords to slip through, or a stand that plugged into your Switch allowing you to plug in your charging cord to the side of the stand. This top USB-C port is going to eliminate all of the issues of tabletop mode and make it a seamless and easier experience. It's definitely something I'm happy is coming to the Switch 2, in addition to the screen being bigger, which will make viewing it easier from further away. Nintendo is making tabletop mode a more realistic playstyle than ever before. Number 2. Mouse controls. The Nintendo Switch 2 is mostly a straightforward upgrade from the Nintendo Switch, making playing games wherever you are a more powerful and smoother experience. But Nintendo also had a few other ideas to try out on the Switch 2, and one of the biggest new features Nintendo is implementing is mouse controls for the new Joy-Con 2 controllers. These new controls have the potential to be very helpful in a lot of Nintendo franchises, with 2 that I hope will be taking advantage of them are Mario Maker and Pikmin in future installments. But there are of course some games that do have confirmed support for this mouse method, which include Drag X Drive, a new Nintendo IP that has basketball players in wheelchairs, where you can use the mouse controls to drive these wheelchairs, and you can also lift up the Joy-Cons to shoot the basketball. While this game doesn't look like it has too much depth, a few other games also have been confirmed to use these controls. Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV will use mouse controls in some new mini-games. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour has mouse controls in some of the tech demo mini-games, and Metroid Prime 4 will use mouse controls as an option for camera adjustments over the right joystick. Even though mouse control support for the Switch 2 is going to be pretty limited in the games that Nintendo has already announced, I believe that it has potential to be very helpful in a lot of future games. Now, real quickly, if you are enjoying this video so far, I would appreciate if you would hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I have a Nintendo Switch 2 pre-order, and I plan to unbox and review it on this channel, so subscribing and turning on all post notifications on that bell icon will let you know when I post those. But anyway, let's jump right back into the video. Number 3. Redesigned Joy-Cons. In addition to the new Joy-Con 2 having mouse control support, a lot has also changed about these new Joy-Cons as a whole. One of the new features I'm excited for is simply that the new Joy-Con 2s are larger, which naturally makes sense since the system itself is also larger. But what I like about the size of the Joy-Cons is that the SL and SR buttons are now bigger because of the extra space. The Joy-Cons being bigger also means that they are going to be more comfortable when you are holding them sideways when you want to share a Joy-Con with a friend. Another thing that has changed quite a bit with the new Joy-Cons is the way that they attach to the system. Rather than using rails that the original Switch had, which in my experience are unreliable as they don't grip them as well as the system ages, leading to the Joy-Cons sliding off unintentionally without you hitting the release button. But the Switch 2 looks like it will fix this issue by attaching the Joy-Con 2s magnetically, and Nintendo even mentioned that if you try to pull the Joy-Cons off without hitting the release button, they stay on the system. The Joy-Con 2 also have larger control sticks, which I imagine will make them more comfortable to use them for longer amounts of time. But overall, I'm really excited for these new Joy-Cons since they seem like they are going to be more comfortable to use. Number 4. Game Share. One feature that has not been seen since the Nintendo 3DS, and honestly one of the best features of that era of Nintendo, is going to be present on the Nintendo Switch 2 under a new name, and that name is Game Share. Formerly called Download Play, the Nintendo DS and 3DS were able to share certain games so that you could play them with your friends even if they didn't own the game. But Nintendo decided to bring back this feature and make it even more accessible. Nintendo is allowing Nintendo Switch 2 users to use Game Share with Nintendo Switch users just as long as a Nintendo Switch 2 starts a Game Share, meaning that only one person needs a Switch 2 and up to 3 other people can join in even if they don't own a Switch 2. This feature basically works by sharing a small part of the game so that you don't have to spend all day waiting for the game to download on your friend's system. But this presents quite a few caveats, such as only very specific multiplayer modes can be played, and it can only be played in handheld mode. Pause the video and look at this photo from Nintendo's website on Super Mario Party Jamboree if you want to see an example straight from Nintendo. This is still a pretty cool move from Nintendo even if there are quite a few limitations, but overall I think that Game Share is a mode that I will personally be using quite frequently. Number 5. Backwards Compatibility. I am so thankful that we are getting a Nintendo console with backwards compatibility, but at the same time it was kind of expected with the new console that still bears the Nintendo Switch branding, and Nintendo definitely delivered. The backwards compatibility on Nintendo Switch 2 looks pretty simple. You can transfer all of your save data to the Nintendo Switch 2, pop in a physical Nintendo Switch game, or re-download any of your old digital games and continue to replay them on Switch 2 like nothing ever happened. As for the games that don't work on Switch 2, well, Nintendo has a full page on the Nintendo Switch 2 official site, where they have a full list of all the Nintendo Switch games that do not work on Switch 2, including third-party titles. Nintendo is actively testing every Nintendo Switch game to check if it works on Switch 2, and they are working on solutions to make sure that it does for games that do not currently work. And they are actually updating the website as they get the games working, and Nintendo is even making sure that games that don't work on the Switch 2 controllers will still work on Switch 1 controllers. I'll put the link to the website in the description so you can check the website out for yourself. But while we are on the topic of your old Switch 1 controllers, Number 6. Original Switch controller support. One of the biggest blessings in disguise of the Nintendo Switch 2 is the ability to connect and use your Nintendo Switch controllers. This is such a good move from Nintendo, and it honestly might be one of the best things about the Nintendo Switch 2. I am so happy that I don't have to go out and buy another set of controllers just to play multiplayer on Switch 2. Now, obviously there are limitations to using Switch 1 controllers, such as the fact that the game chat button is not present on the Nintendo Switch controllers, but the one time I might use game chat, I'll probably just use the Joy-Con 2 that come with the system to use it. Now, eventually I probably will buy the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, just because of the new GL and GR back buttons and game chat, and I've heard it might be more comfortable, but for now, connecting Switch 1 controllers is a really great solution, and something I honestly didn't expect Nintendo to do. And finally, number 7, improved graphics. By far the best update to the Nintendo Switch 2 is that it will have improved graphics. The Nintendo Switch 1 was a console that came out in 2017, and looking at it in 2025, it's evident that that's the case, to say the very least. But the Switch 2 is looking to bring Nintendo into the 2020s with the updated graphics, which include the built-in screen getting around double the pixels, being upgraded from 720p to 1080p, which will make the games a whole lot clearer. But that's not the only improvement Nintendo made. They are also making the Switch 2 compatible with up to 4K in docked mode. This is a massive upgrade from the 1080p capabilities the original Nintendo Switch had. But Nintendo still did not stop there. They have also improved the frame rate. While the original Nintendo Switch had a varying frame rate that could at best reach 60 FPS, the Nintendo Switch 2 will be able to reach 120 FPS in 1080p or 60 FPS in 4K, making gameplay extremely smooth and high quality. Honestly, a graphics update is what everybody asked for, and that's what everybody is getting, and it's definitely something that will make games a lot more enjoyable to play. But anyway, those are the 7 new features of the Nintendo Switch 2 that I'm most excited for. Are you excited to play the Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, I would really appreciate if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel. Like I said earlier, I will be unboxing and reviewing the Nintendo Switch 2 when it comes out, and you won't want to miss that. But anyway, thank you for watching this video and have a great day.